Next on the weekend edition of the RCWR Show, everything that you might have missed from WWE this past week, as well as TNA. Also, the very latest in wrestling-related news, including an in-depth look into how TNA ratings fared in 2012. Give you my honest analysis and takeaway from that, as well as the very latest in entertainment news and beyond. It's the weekend edition of the RCWR Show, first episode in 2013, and it begins right now.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Welcome all to the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael. Lee Sanders with you all on January 5th, 2012. Happy New Year, everybody. Can't say it enough. Probably won't be done saying it until the end of this month. Again, Happy New Year. Thank you for checking out this episode right now live on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. Also over at our sister website at infinityoneproductions.com. Hey, mad shout out to you all that's checking this out on Stitcher. And if you do not have that Stitcher app, my good friends, you are missing out on the ability to play all our episodes as you are on the go. Take our episodes, play them on all your portable devices and iDevices. Stitcher, new and smart way to play internet radio. Hey, we got the chat room loaded up right now on blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. So at your own leisure, feel free to jump on in there. While you're at it, take the time out to interact with us during the course of this episode on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. All right, let's go ahead and let's jump right into it. Let's rewind it back to WWE Raw and talk about the key pinpoints from this past week's episode, where it was the last episode of Raw of 2012. Kind of felt a little lukewarm. I'm still high off of that Christmas Eve special that had aired the week prior with Mick Foley as Santa Claus, and I am not the only one that thought that that was a really kick-ass episode. Mick Foley himself, in part of a WWE.com exclusive interview, did admit he actually had enjoyed that episode quite a lot, and I'm kind of really getting the impression it wasn't because he was in it. But again, we're talking about the last Raw of 2012. One of the key points from this past week was seeing Wade Barrett shockingly defeat Kofi Kingston to become the new Intercontinental Champion for a second time. If you've been keeping track, this is not the only time I'm going to be mentioning Kofi Kingston and Wade Barrett, as really these two men, they had one phenomenal week. You know, I'll touch up a little bit more on that later, but 5-star great quality type of match that these two guys had delivered for that Intercontinental title this past Monday night. One of the other key points from Raw was seeing the continuation storyline of Dolph Ziggler, John Cena, AJ Lee, Big E, Langston. We saw Dolph Ziggler just bashing the WWE Universe for their selection of the 2012 Superstar of the Year, as they chose John Cena for that prestigious award. Dolph Ziggler being very quick to remind people how much of a bad year John Cena has had, and this had forced the C-Nation leader to come out and admit that he's had a bad season, and he's looking to make 2013 kick off to a good start, as he announced that he is going to put himself into the Royal Rumble. Seems like only yesterday there used to be a time where in order to get in the Royal Rumble, you used to have to participate in a series of matches, and then a couple of years after that, seemed like there used to be a time where there would be some type of a lottery, and the wrestler would go into that little lottery bin, pick out a random number, and whatever number they got, that would be their number for when they will be coming out in order of entry at the event. How the times have changed, but in either case, John Cena letting it be known he's going to be at the Royal Rumble in just a few weeks. This is not going to be the only time a superstar is going to be trying to put himself into the Royal Rumble. But nice to see that that build is finally starting to become underway for that event, as we're just a couple of weeks shy from it. Also, we had got an update on CM Punk's injury, as it looked as if he was not going to be able to compete against Ryback next week on the first Raw live episode of 2013. However, the WWE chairman, Big Daddy Vince McMahon, had something different to say about that, as he informed CM Punk, who, despite having his own doctor that he flew in from Chicago to enlighten the WWE universe and educate them on just how severe CM Punk's knee injury was, Vince McMahon informed them all that he would have his own WWE officials, medical officials at that, evaluate CM Punk's knee to determine whether or not CM Punk would be able to compete against Ryback for that title contested in a TLC match. Now, should CM Punk not be able to compete, well, unfortunately, his manager, Paul Heyman, would have to go in his place to take on Ryback. Of course, we would get a very huge update on CM Punk's medical status on WWE's main event. But you know, when I think about Raw from this past Monday night, there really wasn't too much I could take away from it. It just felt like another filler episode, and quite honestly, just as I had said on Impact Showdown Radio this past Thursday night, I can't wait to see Impact. I can't wait to see Raw go back to being live. There is just something about the show that just makes it so much more special when it's live. And really, I can't think of a better way for Raw to kick off next week. First episode 2013, first live episode of 2013, than doing it with the most electrifying man in sports and entertainment, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. You know, for those whole 3 hours, The Rock is just going to be bringing it. And if you did not listen to the RCWR show from this past week, I highly encourage you to go backtrack, check that out. I offer some really great insight into how WWE should try to utilize The Rock during the span of those 3 hours. Now, I could be mistaken, but this to me would be the first 3-hour live event episode that The Rock is going to be doing something else, which is going to be a first for his WWE career. I'm really looking forward to seeing the Great One come back. You know, of course, while we're talking about The Rock popping up on Raw next week, we should also point out to you that the RCWR show is going to be making a very special, rare Monday night appearance right here on Blog Talk Radio at 11 p.m. Eastern. And I'll be joined by special guest, former Pro Wrestling Report correspondent for the Monday Night Meltdown and co-host of Sudden Impact Radio with Meathead. It's going to be the one and only Diamond K that's going to be kicking back. He's going to be joining me. We're going to be talking about that episode, talking about how The Rock did. We'll also preview the Royal Rumble, and we're going to have great live fan reactions as we'll be opening up the phone lines on that episode. So make sure that you join us this Monday night at 11 p.m. Eastern. It's our way of kicking off with a bang in 2013, and we're actually going to be airing on Monday for the next 2 weeks. So this Monday coming up, and then Monday, January 14th, for the Raw 20th anniversary episode. And we'll also have the phone lines opened up on that night as well. We'll go back to our regular scheduled time of Tuesdays at 11 p.m. Eastern on Blog Talk Radio the week after January 14th. So make sure you're aware of those programming notes, and we hope to see you there. But all eyes are set on that episode, as really, this past week, you just really couldn't take anything from what we had. So just another filler episode. Quite honestly, when I compare the number of pre-taped episodes of Raw that we had got from last month, really the one that just stood out pretty good to me in my mind was that Christmas Eve episode, despite it getting such a very low number. You know, we were just talking about WWE's main event, and that episode in itself was a pretty damn good episode. I know a lot of people were moaning and groaning when they had saw from last week's main event, that 20-man battle royal, of which the number one contender, winner being Great Khali, is going to be able to take on Antonio Cesaro for his United States title. I know there were a few moans and groans from those of you that just did not think this match was going to be worth a damn to check out, but leave it to The Miz to really help get the fans feel somewhat invested into wanting to see Antonio Cesaro probably get his ass handed to him, as we saw The Miz having a battle of words with Cesaro, talking about how America is a really great country, and if Cesaro doesn't like it, he can just pack up all his Swiss merchandise and himself and head on back to his country. Then, of course, we had Natalya Hornswoggle pretty much doing most of the talking on behalf of the Great Khali. And then, of course, we had that match itself. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. When I first heard that Great Khali had won this match, or correction, when I first had heard Great Khali had won the Battle Royal match is what I meant to say, folks. The first thing I thought about was, okay, I know Cesaro is going to win this match against Great Khali. Is this a case where maybe they just want to know if he can pull off the neutralizer on a guy that stands over 7'2" tall, however, 7 feet tall? He basically stands taller than the Big Show. Is this a case right here where they're trying to see if he can pull off the neutralizer? And sure enough, we saw Cesaro pull off the neutralizer on the Great Khali. That was just really a solid moment in itself. But you know, despite Cesaro having an impressive outing with the Great Khali, really proving that he can make a broom look very interesting, in my opinion. Damn right entertaining. The real cream of the crop, the savior of main event for that night, was the Battle Royal match, or Gauntlet match, that had went down between Wade Barrett as he took out the likes of Yoshi, Tatsu, JTG, Justin Gabriel, and Kofi Kingston. Kofi Kingston picking up an impressive win over Wade Barrett, just adding more fuel to their rivalry over that Intercontinental title. As Kofi Kingston, passionately, he wants that title back. He's won it 4 times now. There is something about that Intercontinental title that just has a long history with him. There's just that connection, and he wants it back. And he wants to prove that what Wade Barrett did to him was nothing more than a case of luck, as he feels Wade Barrett getting that win over him was just a fluke. Took him off guard. But Wade Barrett, whoo, man, the Barrett barrage just continues to look impressive. And we're not even done talking about Wade Barrett and Kofi Kingston just yet, folks. We did get to see them again tie it up on SmackDown. We'll tell you a little bit more about that in just a hot second. But with regards to main event, just when it looked as if the streak was possibly going to end with main event producing 2 really great matches, well, the streak coming to an end because of Cesaro, Great Khali, it was actually kind of decent, but viewers, I really feel, were able to stick around for that gauntlet match with Wade Barrett there. They really made up in a huge, big way. And you want to talk about huge of what's to come for main event next week. as Sheamus will be taking on Dolph Ziggler. That's right. Now, their match was interrupted last go-round on Friday Night SmackDown, and as a result of that, we're going to see these two men get it on. But once again, the question needs to be raised. Okay, it's going to be a rematch, but is AJ Lee, Big E Langston going to try to get involved in that? But the main question that comes into my mind right now is, when are we going to see Big E Langston in action? He's been very silent these past few weeks, hasn't spoken a word. What's going on with the brother? I need to know. Hopefully those questions will all be answered very soon. All right, we're going to go on ahead and take a very brief commercial break, but when we come right back, we'll talk about what had happened from TNA Impact this past Thursday night, where Impact returned live, first time in several weeks. Bit of a monumental episode as the Icon Sting returned. And also, Kurt Angle, being a man of his word, began to unmask those damn aces and eights. It all started off with one guy to set 2013 off on a good start for TNA Wrestling. We'll give you the latest on that and also talk about WWE Friday Night SmackDown. We'll be coming right back, folks. You're listening to the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. Black Avenger, Lee Sanders with you all on the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. Quick side note, I want to take this time out to thank you, the listeners, for checking out our Extreme Rising post-show that we did last week. There was a big number of you that had checked out that episode on blogtalkradio.com, and you had quickly made that be one of our top 3 strongest episodes for December. And for that, we want to take this time out to thank you. We also want to thank you for checking out that Connecticut shooting special that we did with special guest Dr. Bart Rossi, as that one just continues to this very day get very good numbers, and we really appreciate the love and support from y'all for checking out those respective episodes. All right, so let's go on ahead and let's switch gears now, and let's talk about what had happened from Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night, where it was the return of the Icon Sting. Only question was, when was the Stinger gonna pop up? You literally had to wait almost 2 hours to see Sting pop up, and when he did pop up, although he kind of acted like a Conan the Barbarian with bat in hand like a sword, and he's just slaying through aces and eights like dragons left and right, there really wasn't that much of a fizzle or a pop. It was just kind of like Sting just pops up and you're like, oh, hey, it's Sting. Yeah. There was no build-up for it whatsoever. And, despite that, it was still pretty good, as the main event match was a steel cage match in which we saw Devon and an Aces and Eights member take on Samoa Joe, Kurt Angle. Now, the numbers game would pile up on Kurt Angle as he wasn't able to get into the steel cage match, as he was attacked by Doc of Aces and Eights, as Mr. Anderson looked on. That's right, Mr. Anderson is a potential prospect of the Aces and Eights, but he hasn't given them an official word on if he's going to be joining their club or not. He is still in a little bit of a recruitment process, if you will. So, not really sure what's up with that, but hey, it is what it is right now, and it should be pointed out, Mr. Anderson did not touch anybody in that match. He was simply an observer. Now, once more, we saw the numbers game pile on in the final few seconds of the match, leading up into Sting returning to take everybody out. But, we saw Sting, Kurt Angle, Samoa Joe gain up on that 1 Aces and Eights member that was part of the tag match with Devon, and they unmaxed him, and it was none other than WWE former superstar Mike Knox. Can you just picture that music that Mike Knox used to come out to? That was some really kick-ass drums and guitar riff that he had when he used to come out to that music. None other than Mike Knox, folks, and it looks like they are slowly but surely beginning to put a book in to the Aces and Eights. Other main points of interest from Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night, we had found out that Jeff Hardy will be putting his TNA championship on the line against Bobby Roode and Austin Aries in a triple threat match. But it's not just going to be any triple threat match. A little bonus has been added to it. It's going to be a elimination triple threat match for the TNA title. Other matches that were announced for the TNA Genesis pay-per-view, aside from the triple threat match, we'll see Chavo Guerrero and Hernandez team up to take on Joey Ryan and Matt Morgan for the TNA tag titles. More matches should be announced within the coming week, so do stay tuned for that, as right now Genesis is starting to shape up to be a pretty solid card, given those few matches right there. And of course, we also have the X Division semifinals match that'll take place at Genesis, where the winner will have to do double duty and take on RVD later that night for the X Division title. Also on Impact Wrestling this past Thursday night, we had shockingly saw Hulk Hogan suspend indefinitely without pay Bully Ray and kick to the curb his own daughter, Brooke Hogan, after Bully Ray had came clean to him man to man that he has been with Brooke for a while and that he should have been honest with him on the up and up. Hulk Hogan just running wild with power right now. Mad power hungry at that. Just suspending people left and right. Should be very interesting to see if the TNA president, Dixie Carter, is going to be stepping in to have a few words with the Hulkster. But great setup for Impact Wrestling for next week, as we possibly might get to see the TNA president talking with the Hulkster. Also, we have Aces and Eights, who will no doubt let off a little bit of steam to Mr. Anderson, wondering why he did not help them out when they needed him most when it came to dealing with Sting, Kurt Angle, and Samoa Joe. Also, we have the second quarterfinals match for the X Division title, as we're going to see Zema Ion take on Kenny King, and the winner of that will advance to the semifinals match at Genesis to take on Christian York, and the winner of that will go on to take on RVD for the X Division title. So it's shaping up to be a pretty solid episode right now. Hey, for all the very latest on what you might have missed from TNA Impact this past week and the very latest in Impact Wrestling related news, I highly encourage you to check out Impact Showdown Radio in our archive section. It's at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. Or you can subscribe to us in the iTunes Zune marketplaces. Just use the keywords, the RCWR Show. And if you want to catch us live in progress, you can do so by hitting us up on Thursday nights at 10 p.m. Eastern, right here on blogtalkradio.com. Coming up next on the RCWR Show Weekend Edition, we're going to take a look at what's been happening so far with TNA last year in the ratings, as I got some very interesting fun facts I want to share with you all. You'd be very surprised at some of the things that had came out this week about the 2012 ratings for TNA Impact Wrestling. Vince Russo fans, you may want to pull up a chair for this. Also, the very latest in wrestling-related news and beyond. It's the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. We'll be coming right back, folks, in just a little bit. Do hang tight.
Ever get the urge to follow somebody? Then take a free moment during this commercial break to follow us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. Also on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. And just for that, we won't call the cops on you.
Weekend edition of the RCWR Show. Black Avenger, a.k.a. the Black Azrael. Lee Sanders with you all. Thank you all for checking out this episode on January 5th, 2013. Hey, I always love it when we get ratings for you all's favorite shows. So I know in the last segment we were talking about Impact Wrestling. Let's just stay with that. For those of you that might have missed the Impact ratings for December 27th, I have those numbers. Looks like that episode respectively has scored a 0.95 rating and averaged 1.33 million viewers. Not so bad. Now, for those of you that are a little bit curious how the first Impact episode did for the new year, as it was live, hey, I got the numbers for that as well. Looks like this past Thursday's Impact scored a 1.14 rating. Yeah, that's pretty good numbers right there. 1.14 rating with 1.62 million viewers. Definitely up significantly from the December 27th numbers that I gave you all there. You know, we do have some very interesting fun facts about the Impact Wrestling ratings for 2012. Vince Russo fans, you might want to pull up a chair for this. Now, the great staff over at the TNA Insider website, they have posted some very interesting fun facts about the ratings for last year, and it goes as follows. Impact has not had this many episodes that drew less than a 1.1 rating since 2007. And I should give you guys a heads up in mind as you're hearing this information. They're following everything that's happened from 2006 on up to 2012. Impact has not had this many episodes that drew less than a 1.0 rating since 2006. Impact has not had a year-to-year rating average this low since 2006. Impact Wrestling lost an average of 13% of its Nielsen ratings numbers in 2012. It also lost an average of 19% of its entire viewer demographic in 2012. It's also dropped on the very first episode that was not written by Vince Russo. First episode written solely by new creative team Bruce Pritchard, Dave Lagana, and crew fell from a 1.19 rating to a 1.0. Those of you that are a little bit curious, Vince Russo's highest Impact rating of the year was a 1.35. The new creative team's highest Impact rating in 2012 was a 1.15. Impact so far has lost 17.8% of its viewers in just 7 episodes after Russo left the company. Impact in 2012 had only 9 episodes out of the year that drew a 1.1 or greater rating. 6 out of those 9 episodes were written by Vince Russo. April 12th to May 3rd episodes of Impact, TNA had their first consecutive episodes of Impact Wrestling that scored less than a 1.0 rating since the Monday Night Wars of 2010. This string of episodes did not compete against the NFL, no Spike TV blackout on Time Warner Cable, and didn't compete against any new shows. Now, just to debunk the whole NFL myth that's out there, it looks like Impact scored a higher rating during the first episode against NFL Thursday Night Football than the previous week without NFL competition. Take, for instance, the September 6th episode. That drew a 0.94 rating, while the September 13th episode against the NFL drew a 0.97 rating. The second week of NFL competition, Impact Wrestling drew a 1.01 rating, higher than the first week of the two shows competing in the same time slot. The last few episodes of Impact Wrestling in 2012 did not compete against NFL Thursday Night Football and still failed to score anything higher than a 0.99 rating. Now, for those of you that love to debate about the 8 p.m. new time slot, well, the debate on that continues. Should be kept in mind that they went to that new format there beginning in May 31st. Now, there is evidence that is supporting from both sides of this debate. Most Impact shows before May 31st scored a 1.0 rating and above, which is still below the average rating for Impact Wrestling. But when you look at it from the other hand, 4 out of 22 episodes of Impact Wrestling before the time change scored less than a 1.0 rating. So folks, what have we learned from hearing those numbers? Well, I'm going to offer you my honest analysis on this, and I just got to be brutally honest here. And, part of the saying that we have on our show, we've been having it since day one that we had kicked off this show. And, it's something that we bust out from time to time, always keeping it real. And we got to do a keep it real segment right here. Honestly, I think that what's been going on with Hulk Hogan, just think about how it was before Hulk Hogan. Just think about the content of the show and just think about what all has been happening so far. I mean, quite honestly, Impact Wrestling has been kind of coming off like it's a bit of a Hulk Hogan variety show that Hulk Hogan has to get his respected spotlight. He's got to be able to push whatever storylines, and he's not even wrestling. And, you just think about all that drama that's going on with him and his daughter. And quite honestly, you got those core TNA wrestling fans that honestly do not give a flying hoot about the Hogans. They have been with TNA from day one. They have seen how the company has progressed, and there's a little bit of 50-50 right now. You got 50% of those hardcore TNA fans that have been with the company since day one that are still following with it to this very day, and then you have those that were just alienated once Vince Russo left and they saw Hulk Hogan come to town. They refused to watch the product again. But we got a lot of people that are very conflicted about this. But honestly, I think that it really hasn't been helping that Hulk Hogan, Brooke Hogan, has gotten involved in TNA wrestling. I really do not see that much of a significant change as far as the ratings go. If anything, I thought that the shows were better when they had Vince Russo part of that main writing team. Honestly, just look at what's been happening with Hulk Hogan and crew in action. Bruce Pritchard, Dave Lagana. Just look at how things have been. You got Bully Ray, one of the strongest competitors in TNA wrestling. One of the best guys on your roster that really has just inside and out become a completely different character. He has just become a overnight sensation, even surpassing Austin Aries to a certain extent that is just sidelined by these silly little storylines with the Hulkster right now. The payoff, if I was writing this, I would just have these two men be in a match. Now, unless it's going to go that route, then I really don't see why we have this just continuing to go on and on and on. Just really makes no sense to me. But honestly, I don't really think it's been helping that the Hogans have been hogging up camera time, taking it away from younger talent, more matches at that. What also hasn't been helping is aces and eights. Unfortunately, you've had those months there where it just keeps dragging on and on and on. And honestly, that could be playing a significant part in how the Impact ratings had fared for 2012. Honestly, I think Impact Wrestling is off to a decent start this year. They got one of the Aces and Eights members unmasked. Maybe this is the beginning of the end for the group. Now, I don't know how far they're going to try to stretch this out. I would just hope that this can be concluded before summer. I don't really think fans want to continue to sit up and keep seeing this play out for the next 6, 7 months. But that's just my honest takeaway from that. Honestly, when it comes to it airing live and being in its new time slot of 8 p.m., I think that they should continue to keep it there. I strongly feel that it helps them out in so many levels. One, of course, the dirt sheets. Nobody really has that much of a upper hand as far as when Impact used to be pre-taped. You could have the results for Impact as early as Tuesday. And I've just always felt that all wrestling shows, they just need to be live to really help kill that buzz and take away all those spoiler alerts so that it makes those want to check out the program even more to see if they're going to be missing out on something that really kicks ass. So I like the fact that they're able to keep their live status, and I like the new relationship that they're building with the Bellator promotion. As we had saw this past Thursday night, that's really off to a pretty good start. Actually, I kicked back and watched the encore of that after Impact Showdown Radio went off the air, and I liked what I had saw. So they got a nice little segue there once they're off the air, and the fighting just continues on with Bellator. I like that. Great combination. But, this debate is always going to continue when it comes to the 8 p.m. time slot. But right now, I'm just thinking about what is going on with that content of the show right now. And if I were to look for some type of a silver lining, I would actually point out to some of the information that I have shared with you all, as while some may say that the nail in the coffin was the move to 8 p.m., beginning in May 31st, Spike TV did increase on average 20 to 28% during the time slot change. Now, during the first few weeks of the year, UFC Unleashed was still being aired sporadically on the 8 p.m. time slot, followed by a steady rotation of rerun Spike branded reality shows. The move to 8 p.m. may not have been a major relief that some Impact fans were hoping for, but it clearly has helped Spike TV's bottom line when it comes to the prime time slot. And I don't know about you guys, but I know for a fact somewhere at a deli shop or walking down the street, hell, maybe doing his laundry, walking out the dog, Vince Russo's probably come across this information, and he's probably smiling to himself. I mean, quite honestly, I thought it was a little bit better when Vince Russo was at the helm. That's just me. I may get lit on fire for that, but that's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. Speaking of TNA, it looks like Hulk Hogan had dropped his lawsuit against Gawker earlier this week. If you recall, back in October, Gawker had built quite a bit of buzz when they had showed a 1-minute clip of Hulk Hogan having sex with good friend Bubba the Love Sponge's wife at the time, Heather Clem. And for that, Hulk Hogan, he did put a lawsuit out there against his friend and the Gawker website. Now, Hogan was able to make a settlement with Bubba, at which Bubba did release a statement on his radio show apologizing to the Hulkster. But for a good long minute here, Hulk Hogan, he has just been going back and forth with Gawker trying to get that footage removed from the site. And he just was not able to do it the first few times, as the judge had ruled in Gawker's favor. Now, basically, in this latest new update, Hulk Hogan, he's decided to cease filing a lawsuit against them for now. Now, he did this in a way where he could resume it at a later date. So maybe it's over for now, or maybe he's trying to figure out other steps he can take. Who knows? Honestly, I think he's probably just going to let it go. It's out there. It's been out there for this long. As long as it's not the actual tape, I don't really think that much harm can be done. At least not anymore at that. So Very interesting little bit of news right there. Let's switch gears up and let's talk about what happened from Friday Night SmackDown, in case you might have missed it, where once again, one of the main attractions of the night, and no, I'm not even talking about the tag team main event match, where we saw Big Show team up with Antonio Cesaro to take on Sheamus and Randy Orton. I was actually a little bit bored with that match, and I usually like any match that Antonio Cesaro was in. I was even able to tolerate what he was doing there with the Great Khali on main event this week, but there was just something about that tag main event match that just had me fast forward through that. I really just didn't care about that. For me, the highlight of the night was Wade Barrett, Kofi Kingston getting it on for the Intercontinental title. And just when you think that maybe the third time it might get a little bit old here, they actually made what they did on main event and Raw look like an afterthought. Their encounter on this past Friday Night SmackDown, hands down, pay-per-view quality type of match that just had me sit up and go, feed me more, feed me more. Yes, I wanted more of that. Hands down, great match. Wade Barrett retaining the Intercontinental title. Where does Kofi Kingston go from here? Nice little cliffhanger right there. Hopefully we'll get an update on that on Monday Night Raw. I would love to see Kofi Kingston try to get that new aggressive side to him be heightened even more by this loss to Wade Barrett, and want to challenge him one more time, possibly as early as the Royal Rumble. But, when I look at those two guys, hey, it's a little bit early. We haven't really done it in a while. I know the very first winner that we had chose for our Entertainer of the Week a couple of weeks back was Dolph Ziggler. Well, this time around, I got to give it up to Kofi Kingston, Wade Barrett. First time ever that two people are winning this covenant spot on the RCWR show. Normally we just try to single out one person, but in this case, these two have just been perfect in harmony. It's like peanut butter and jelly. I'm going to give it to both of these guys. They've really been giving us some really great freaking solid matches all this week. Really can't complain. Other highlight that we saw from Friday Night SmackDown, we saw pretty much, that was really it when I think about it. We really didn't have too much that had happened, although there was a very decent match between The Miz and Heath Slater of 3MB that really opened my eyes to how far along Heath Slater has come along. It reminded me of just how good he was as a one-man band, and why he should really ditch Jinder Mahal. And who's that other guy? Drew McIntyre. I was thinking about it the other day, and those guys remind me of a bootleg version of the Rockin' Rave Exchange. Or the group I'm talking about. It's from TNA. You had Christy Hemme in there, and those other two guys, they were running around playing a little Guitar Hero thing. They remind me of that, except that stable was better. I mean, quite honestly, if there was to ever be a day where there would be some type of a WWE TNA invasion, I would love to see how the three-man band would fare against that trio. Honestly, I think they'd get their asses handed to them. But really, those were the only two moments that really stood out in my mind from SmackDown this past Friday night, was Miz taking on Heath Slater and Wade Barrett getting an impressive victory over Kofi Kingston for that Intercontinental Championship. Although it should be pointed out, we did see Sheamus and Randy Orton proclaim that they wanted to put themselves into the Royal Rumble. So, as I said earlier, it's funny how we got people trying to just put themselves in there. There is something of a lottery system, or you got to have a fight to earn that spot. So, hopefully we can start seeing something like that be announced coming up on Raw this week, as we got the return of Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson, and that should be a pretty solid episode in itself. All right, so let's switch it up now. We're going to take a very brief commercial break, and when we come right back, we'll dip into the very latest and what's been happening with Ring of Honor Wrestling. That's right, it's a new era, new year for the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. Every single time you hear us come on the air with our Weekend Edition specials, we are really going to be making sure we cover a little bit of everything that's been happening in wrestling, not just WWE, TNA, now in regular rotation on our Weekend Edition shows. We're going to be talking about the latest from Ring of Honor Wrestling and whatever buzz is happening in the independent circuit as far as indie promotions go. So I got some updates on what's happening in the Shine Wrestling promotion, let you know a little bit about that, and then we'll dive into a little bit of entertainment news. You're listening to the RCWR Show Weekend Edition. We'll be coming right back, folks.
Live from the nation's capital in Washington, D.C., this is the RCWR Show with your host, Lee Sanders.
Welcome back. Lee Sanders here. All right, so let's talk about what's been happening in Ring of Honor Wrestling. Now, later today, or it could be in progress right now, Ring of Honor, they're going to be returning to the Baltimore, Maryland area for their first TV tapings of 2013. And at that event, there's going to be a special autograph signing that's been announced, where it's a pretty jam-packed card right now. We're going to see Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion Kevin Steen, Steve Corneo, Jimmy Jacobs, and Matt Hardy. All are scheduled to make an appearance at the signing. And who knows what else is going to be happening at that event. Now, the final two names have been announced for the Top Prospect Tournament that's going to be starting in Baltimore, as Adam Page, who has wrestled for Ring of Honor on and off in the past year, and Antonio Thomas, who has wrestled all over the world, and will be joining QT Marshall, ACH, Cialis Young, Mike Sadal, Matt Taven, and Tardis Thomas for the first round matches of the tournament. Grizzly Redwood has been announced for the lineup for the event in Baltimore as well. Before Final Battle 2012 aired, QT Marshall made his way to the ring, and he talked a really good game about not being on the card. He then called out anyone from the locker room to face him. Now, Redwood would answer the call and ended up getting the upset victory just a handful of seconds after the bell had rung. And pretty much since then, R.D. Evans has stated that the match was never sanctioned and therefore the loss doesn't count. Looks like Redwood's probably looking for a little bit of redemption. Meanwhile, Ring of Honor matchmaker Nigel McGuinness is looking to prove he means business by refusing Matt Hardy and Mike Bennett shots at Adam Cole's TV title after their nefarious wins at the Final Battle 2012. Instead, Cole is set to defend against BJ Whitmer. Now, it should be noted that on January 18th, when Ring of Honor returns to Dearborn, Michigan, Nigel McGuinness has announced that Tardis Thomas will challenge Ring of Honor World Champion Kevin Steen for his title in an underdog challenge. This will be Steen's first title defense of the new year. Meanwhile, tag team, the American Wolves will be in the tag team gauntlet match that will be taking place in Baltimore, Maryland. So, look like it's going to be a pretty solid event that's going to be coming from Ring of Honor Wrestling. And of course, we'll continue to update you all on the very latest of Ring of Honor Wrestling news. It's going to be at our website, also on our Facebook page, and as I said earlier, we'll also update you all on future episodes of the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. It's our way of really branching out a little bit more and give you a little bit more than just WWE, TNA. Hopefully you appreciate it, and if you do, hey, that's great. And if there's a promotion that you would like for us to consider for coverage, just shoot us an email over at infinityOneProductions@gmail.com. Let us know the name of the promotion and we'll review it over. And hey, if it's good enough, we'll definitely start following them and mention a little bit of snippets of news of what we're able to come across on future episodes. All right, so we had made the announcement last year, just right before the year had ended. I believe we had announced it in November. I believe late November. I know it wasn't December. I think it was late November. We had announced a new commitment that we were going to be doing going forward. And you all had let your voices be heard by checking out that post show. And it's with great honor to tell you that that tradition is going to be continuing. Of course, I'm talking about Shine Wrestling. Now, we did a very special episode of the RCWR Post Show covering the Shine 5 Wrestling event on Blog Talk Radio, and that had met a lot of great praise. People went out of their way to let us know they had appreciated the fact that we were supporting women's wrestling, and honestly, I have been a women's wrestling fan supporter for many years. It goes as far back as to whenever I was in junior high. So I've always had that love and admiration for what female wrestlers are able to do in that ring, as a lot of times they downright are better than their male counterparts. And it's with great honor to tell you guys that we're going to be covering the next Shine Wrestling event that's going to be coming up this Friday, January 11th. Kicks off at 9 p.m. Eastern. Now, already signed is Daphne. You all should remember her, or as I like to call her, Drunk Daphne, as she has a notorious habit here of, from what I'm able to gather, of being a little bit intoxicated, as she is the live event hostess. Main event of Shine 6 is going to see Amazing Kong taking on Mercedes Martinez. Jessica Havoc will take on Reba Sky. Leva Bates will take on Kimberly. Maiden Sins, Allison Kay and Taylor Made with April Hunter will take on Mesere, Mischief, and Christina Von Airy. Plus, we're going to be getting appearances from Rain, Maya Yim, Su Young, Santana, Ivelisse, Tina San Antonio, Kimberly, Lee Von Dutch, and our Twitter buddy, gotta give her a shout out, Nikki Rocks. That's right, it's gonna be one kick-ass event. We're gonna be covering it, and hey, we're gonna do a very special episode of the RCWR Post Show. It's gonna come on immediately after Shine 6 Wrestling has gone off the air. You can catch this on iPay-per-view. And actually, if you go to our website at infinityOneProductions.com, we have a banner that'll take you directly to their site. You'll be able to order the pay-per-view yourself. They got some really great packages that's going on. Starts as low as $10. You can just watch the live stream in the comfort of your own home. Hey, it really works wonders if you have a really big kick-ass TV. Highly encourage you to go check that out. Or you can do the live event download combo. Or you can do the live event download and get the DVD. Plenty of good packages that's out there, very affordable. Highly encourage you to go check it out. And if you end up ordering the pay-per-view because of our show, hey, make sure that you hit them up on Facebook at Shine Wrestling. Hit them up on Facebook. Let them know that Lee of the RCWR Show sent you, and they'll treat you real good, all right? And that is going to do it. So for those of you that might be wondering, well, what's going to happen with the RCWR Show for next Saturday then? We're still trying to work out the details of that. We will possibly do it. It all just depends on what time this Shine pay-per-view goes off. If it's a case where it doesn't go off until 12 o'clock, then that's when we're going to do our post show. And then it looks like, unfortunately, Blog Talk Radio audience, you won't be able to get a new episode of the weekend edition. However, there is something called our Call That Match series. And for the first time in a long time, our next Call That Match series is going to be exclusive next weekend to YouTube only. I'm going to be offering match predictions for Sunday's TNA Genesis pay-per-view that's going to be coming our way live from the Impact Arena at Orlando Studios, Florida on January 13th. You want to make sure you check out that Call That Match special next Saturday. It's going to be a YouTube exclusive on the RCWR Show channel. You'll be able to download it, view it for your pleasure, and check out my match predictions. Find out who I think is going to be walking away victorious from that respected pay-per-view. Feel free to share your comments and more. And if you are spot on, we will give you props live on the air, my good friends.
Ever get the urge to follow somebody? Then take a free moment during this commercial break to follow us on Twitter at Infinity1Prod. Also on Facebook at Infinity1 Productions. And just for that, we won't call the cops on you.
Welcome back. Hey, have you been to our Facebook page? If not, you are missing out. We have a picture that's up right now of the Miss Foxy, Kim Kardashian. And let me set this up properly for you all. Now, Kim Kardashian, earlier this week, she had recently went out to go meet Kanye West at a restaurant. She was pushing this really nice gray skirt. Now, here's the thing. You got to do a double take. Turns out this gray skirt is a bit transparent, and she had no panties on, and that kadonk was just all out there. Make sure you go check that out. It should be noted that Kim Kardashian is with child. It's going to be popping up soon in the next 8 months. Kanye West, good job, brother. Good job. Way to lay it down, dog. Yeah, that picture, it really was an eye-opener, though. Check it out. It's at our Facebook page at Infinity1 Productions. While you're at it, take the time out to like the page and continue to follow it as we put up a lot of great content, so much more than wrestling. And it looks like I got some Rolling Stones news for you all. Just when we thought that was it for the Rolling Stones, they do that impressive concerts for the One More Shot tour, celebrating 50 years in the business. Looks like they're weighing in their options. There's possibility that the Rolling Stones might be going on a full tour in 2013. Who knows? Anything is possible right there. Maybe at this point it boils down to the right amount of money, or as that Clint Eastwood movie goes, fistful of dollars for a few dollars more. It could be it. Now, we were talking about how it was rumored that Rolling Stones could be performing at Coachella. Well, the Coachella organizers recently posted an image of a large round stone at the Empire Polo Grounds on the festival's official Facebook page, which seems to confirm a widespread rumor that the Rolling Stones will be headlining the festival this year. But so far, Rolling Stones hasn't said anything about it yet. Now, a Coachella appearance would likely be one of many 2013 gigs for the Rolling Stones. Keith Richards had this to say. He said, "We barely got off the starting blocks of the 50th anniversary run late last year, which was limited to 7 shows. It would be dopey to bring things up to this level and say, well, that's that, 50 years, bye-bye." So who knows what's going to be happening right here. Now, like last year, Coachella 2013 will be staged across 2 weekends in April with the exact same lineup at both events. The Stones' mobile app only listed the April 12th show, but one would think certainly they'll be at the April 19th event as well. Now, the full Coachella lineup will be officially announced later this month, so keep your fingers crossed. I would think it's going to be the Rolling Stones. Got some updated news on Bobby Womack, veteran soul singer. He's been diagnosed with early signs of Alzheimer's disease after forgetting song lyrics and names of collaborators, he told the BBC. It's the latest health complication for the singer, who just last year, folks, was hospitalized with pneumonia and had surgery for colon cancer. If you remember, we had reported about that a couple of weeks back, last year in 2012 there. Womack, 68, he opened up about his memory lapse to Giles Peterson on BBC Six Music. Quote, "The doctor said you have signs of Alzheimer's." When Womack asked, he said, "It's not bad, but it's going to get worse. How can I not remember songs I wrote? That's very frustrating." Now, in the latest update, Womack issued a statement about his diagnosis. "Thanks to all my friends for their prayers and well wishes. I truly appreciate and can feel your love. With the support of many good doctors, my family, and all my wonderful fans, I will continue to write and perform and bring the good music to the people for as long as I can. With much love, Bobby Womack." Yeah, that Alzheimer's, that's got to be one of the worst things to deal with. I got some HBO news for you all. Looks like HBO is being sued over treatment on horses for the series Luck. That's right, HBO faces a lawsuit alleging that the network covered up negligent treatment resulting in the deaths of several horses on the now canceled show Luck. This is according to a report by the Hollywood Reporter. Now, if you don't quite remember that show, Luck, it was starring Dustin Hoffman. Now, these charges are coming from a woman by the name of Barbara Casey, who served as a former director of production at the American Humane Association's Film and Television Unit, which monitors the treatment of animals on shows. And again, it had starred Dustin Hoffman, and it revolved around life at a California racetrack. Along with the network and Luck's producer, Stewart Productions, Casey is also suing AHA, where she worked for 13 years, for wrongful termination in retaliation for her attempt to report criminal activity. Now, it should be noted that Luck was canceled last March after a horse was killed during productions, but Casey's complaint alleges that various abuses had been going on for months and claims that HBO pressured the AHA into covering them up to save time and money and minimize disruptions to the production schedule. Now, HBO, they did release a statement, rather short and brief one. They say, "We take every precaution to ensure that our horses were treated humanely and with the utmost care, exceeding every safeguard of all protocols and guidelines required of production." Very interesting development right here. Of course, we'll continue to stay on top of this. Anything we're able to come across, we will share with you all at our website, Twitter, and our Facebook page. Dave Grohl of the Foo Fighter, he has another reason to look forward to the Sundance Festival that's going to be coming up, as the rocker will be putting together a band called Sound City Players to perform at the Park City, Utah Film Festival in a show that coincides with his directorial debut, Sound City. Now, the January 18th show will include guests and musicians featured in Sound City through a lineup that is still being kept on the hush-hush. Now, so far, the Sound City soundtrack, that includes collaborations with Stevie Nicks, Nine Inch Nails' Trent Reznor, Josh Homme from the Queens of the Stone Age, Rick Springfield, more. So it's highly expected that these should be the lineup for that Sundance show. Another possible guest would be Paul McCartney, former Beatle that had hooked up with Grohl, Chris Novoselic, and Pat Smear for a Nirvana reunion of sorts for the 12-12-12 benefit show, playing a new song that stemmed from Sound City. Now, Sound City, it examines the history of a now shuttered Sound City recording studio in Van Nuys, California. And this studio was famous for its gear, including the Navy 8028 Recording Council that Grohl purchased in 2011. It was also where Nirvana were among the first bands to record at Sound City, laying down tracks to that infamous Nevermind album in 1991. And for those of you that are a little bit curious of what you could possibly expect at the Oscars this year, looks like long overdue, about damn time. It looks like the Oscars are going to be giving a little bit of a James Bond tribute to the overlooked spy classic franchise. That's right. Now, typically, when it comes to the Academy Awards, they really haven't been too kind on the James Bond movies. But with last year's Skyfall becoming one of the first Bond films to gross more than $1 billion worldwide, and the film marked 50 years of James Bond movies, starting with 1962's Dr. No, the Academy Award, they have no choice but to acknowledge the history of James Bond, as there has been a series of 23 films, 24 if you include Sean Connery's comeback in 1983's unofficial Never Say Never Again. The series has only won 2 awards, 1964's Goldfinger and 1965's Thunderball, both picked up wins for best effects. But still, Skyfall's Oscar stock may have gotten a serious boost from his recent Producers Guild of America nominations for Best Picture. So if you still haven't seen that, don't feel bad. I still have not seen Casino Royale, and I am a huge James Bond fan. Don't even get me started on that. I'll probably will be watching them this weekend. You remember a while back we had told you guys how George Lucas had sold his Star Wars franchise, Lucasfilms, how he sold all that to Disney? Well, I got a new update for you guys. After Disney had acquired Lucasfilms in last October, Star Wars creator and Lucasfilm founder George Lucas and President Kathleen Kennedy sat down for a series of interviews on the future of the sci-fi universe and franchise. The 5th and final part had surfaced just earlier this week, and the pair had let it slip that in a first segment there, that the project episodes 7, 8, 9 already in development. Now, this is George Lucas' statement on this, direct quote: "We are absolutely going to make more Star Wars movies, and we're in the midst of the really fun part of the process, which is we're sitting down with a couple of writers and we're starting to discuss ideas, and we're starting to talk about what those stories might be. The main thing is to protect these characters." Now, large part of why Lucas said that he's doing this is because he wants to ensure that more fans and people can enjoy it in the near future. And he says it's a very big universe that he's created, and there's lots of stories that can go in there. But the most important thing about why he decided to give up the control is because he wants to just kick back and be a fan now and look forward to seeing the films. He feels that it's more fun that way. So call it what you will, but man, way to not keep it in the family. That's all I gotta say about that. Got some Green Day news for you all, as they had rescheduled their canceled 2012 tour dates and postponed 2013 shows due to Billy Joe Armstrong having a little bit of a mental breakdown. It all had kicked off at the iHeartRadio Festival last year. Looks like he is out of rehab and he is about ready to go. So things are going to be kicking off in March this year on the 28th. It's going to begin at the Chicago's Allstate Arena, and it looks like they're going to be going all the way up until April 12th in Quebec. I'm sure more dates are to come. Green Day issued this statement saying, "We want to thank everyone for hanging out in there with us these last few months. We are very excited to hit the road and see you all again, though we regret having to cancel more shows." Billy Joe had to say this: "Dear friends, I just want to thank you all for the love and support you've shown for the past few months. Believe me, it hasn't gone unnoticed, and I'm eternally grateful to have such an amazing set of friends and family. I'm getting better every day, so now without further ado, the show must go on. For a full list of updated tours and dates and all, feel free to go on to Green Day's website at greenday.com, and you can also check them out on their Facebook page for all the very latest. Quentin Tarantino said that linking movie violence with the recent shootings in Newtown, Connecticut is disrespectful. This he said in an interview with the NPR. When Fresh Air host Terry Gross asked Tarantino whether movie violence lost its fun after the Newton shootings, the Django Unchained director replied, "Not for me." Gross pushed on the point, which irritated Tarantino. Tarantino right here, direct quote, "When you say after the tragedy, what do you mean exactly? Do you mean, oh, that day, would I watch The Wild Bunch? Maybe not on that day. Would I watch a kung fu movie 3 days after the Shady Hook massacre? Maybe, because they have nothing to do with each other." Now, Gross asked Tarantino if he was becoming annoyed, and he replied that he was. Says, "I think it's disrespectful to their memory, actually, to talk about movies," he said. "I think it's totally disrespectful to their memory. Obviously, the issue is gun control and mental health." Tarantino noted questions about violence in film have followed him throughout his career and said his stance hasn't changed. "I've been asked this question for 20 years about the effects of violence in movies related to violence in real life. My answer is the same 20 years ago. It hasn't changed one iota. Obviously, I don't think one has to do with the other." And it looks like after almost 16 years with the Baltimore Ravens, Ray Lewis is going to be hanging it up at the end of this season. Of course, Ray Lewis, he was out on injury due to a tricep injury that he was having there. It looks like he's going to be coming back, though, this weekend. Well, looks like Ray Lewis, he's decided that at the age of 37, he's played long enough, and at this point he wants to be able to spend more time with his family and enjoy a little bit of time that he has with his children before they really go out and make their respective marks in the world. Been a huge Ray Lewis fan, one of the first big guys I remember as far as a sports athlete goes when I had first came out here to the metropolitan area back in 1992, 93. I know he didn't quite get around until 1996, but I could just remember how it was with the Baltimore Ravens right before Ray Lewis came, and then after Ray Lewis came, there was just that whole buzz that was just in the air. Just everything for those first couple of 4 years, it seemed like. It was like, Baltimore Ravens, yeah, but their defense. And that was always the talk, the defense. And that's really how he had got under my radar. And I'm going to miss that guy. That is one serious kick-ass linebacker. He is one of those type of guys. He be talking some mad garbage when he be on the field, hyping his boys up. I'm going to miss all that. I think he's made a huge contribution to the NFL, and hopefully we'll continue to see him in the metropolitan area and go on to do some really great charitable work, put some awareness commercials out there, the works. I got a feeling we're not quite done with him. I still think he's probably going to try to remain local in the area here, but very, very sad news to hear that. But hey, you know what? It's sad, but I'll say this, and I'll keep it on the real. At least he's going out on his terms. At least it's not a scenario here where he got sidelined with a very serious injury, or worse, he became paralyzed. At least he's just literally walking off the field and he's just riding off into the sunset. I think that's what every sports athlete wants, rather than it's forced upon them that they need to retire. And I got one last piece of news for you all. It looks like there is a Kurt Cobain film we had told you guys about a while back. It looks like the director of that, Brett Morgan, he's hoping that the Kurt Cobain film that he's been working on for some years now will be this generation's The Wall. This he told in an interview with NME, describing the ambitious scope of the project. Now, Courtney Love and the Cobain estate tapped Morgan to make a film examining the life of the late Nirvana frontman, and the project has started to come together after 5 years of planning. Morgan most recently helmed the Rolling Stones documentary Crossfire Hurricane. Here's what he had to say about working on this project. He said, "If you think about Kurt, he's contradiction. He could be sincere and sentimental and also ironic and sarcastic. He was sweet and sour. He was incredibly funny too, and the film has to reflect his spirit." Now, it should be pointed out that although Cobain's legacy centers around his music, Morgan hopes to shed some light on the rocker's other artistic pursuits. The thing about him people might not know is that he was an incredible visual artist and left behind a treasure chest of comic books, paintings, Super 8 films, all sorts, said Morgan, calling the film a mix of animation and live action that will allow the audience to experience Kurt in a way they never have before. Morgan is hoping to release this film sometime in 2014. Hey, I will settle on a little bit of a 3-minute trailer this year if we can get it. And that's pretty much going to do it, folks. It really is great to be back doing the weekend edition of the RCWR Show and cover new great content. And this is just a taste of things that's going to be coming on our future episodes. And if you have any wrestling questions, entertainment questions, general questions, you want to pick my brain on something, we'll read some of those live on the air. All you got to do is just hit me up with an email. You can hit me up at infinityOneProductions@gmail.com. If I don't get around to it, somebody of our short staff here will get around to reading it. I assure you of that. And you will receive a reply. We'll let you know when you'll be able to hear your answer to your question live on the air. Great to be back doing the weekend edition of the RCWR Show. It's a new year, new beginnings, and really hope you appreciate the great content that we had covered on today's episode. If you like what we did, make sure that you hit that subscribe button at blogtalkradio.com/the RCWR Show. There's a little follow tab you'll see. Just click on that and you'll be able to know when we're going to be putting out future episodes. You'll get alerts so that you know when we're getting ready to come on the air. Never miss out. Also, for those of you that have Android phones, Google, whatever phone you got, make sure you check out the Stitcher app so you can play our episodes on all your respective portable devices, iDevices. Stitcher, new and smart way to play internet radio. We might be going off the air for a little bit, but the talk of wrestling doesn't end right here. Be sure to check out infinityOneProductions.com for all the very latest in wrestling related news and so much more. While you're at it, take the time out to also check out our Facebook page at Infinity One Productions. Hey, got any wrestling questions, comments, inquiries? Feel free to hit us up with an email at infinityOneProductions@gmail.com. And hey, we'll show you some love. We'll reply to you. We'll even read some of your comments, questions live on the air on future episodes. Quick programming note, this Monday night, we're going to be making a rare appearance right after WWE Raw to cover The Rock's return. Join me as I'll have special guests, former Pro Wrestling Report correspondent for Monday Night Meltdown Radio and co-host of Sudden Impact Radio, Diamond K, who will be stopping by, and we'll have the phone lines open for you all to call into the show, and we're going to talk all things about what had happened from that night's WWE Raw. We're going to be on a little break for now, but hey, we will see you all this Monday night. And until then, everybody have a great weekend. Be safe and be kind to one another, folks.